Welcome back to another episode of Tractor Roy. My name is Trent. We're working on an International 300 today, utility. This has a different hood on it. Obviously, it came off of an International 350 and an International 350 diesel. On the diesels, just like on the MDs, it starts on gas and then switches over to diesel. The exhaust ends up being on this side on the diesel versions. My MD that's over there, same thing. All the manifold is on this side instead of the other side, so the exhaust is up here. This is gas. Somebody replaced this 350 or this 300 hood with a 350. So an interesting fact on these 300s and 350s, both farmals and utilities. The 300s were all red, the whole thing. When they switched to the 350s, they went to a white painted grill, and I'm pretty sure they put a white stripe right here. Could be wrong on that stripe. But what a lot of farmers would do when the 350s came out, rather than have to go out and buy a new tractor, they still wanted to look like they had the latest and greatest thing. So they would paint these grills white to make them look like the newer model of tractor. The only difference really between the 300 and the 350 is a bigger engine size. This is a C169, which is right here. The C stands for carbureted, and it's 169 cubic inches. The 350s were C175. The diesels are a little bit different. I think they used a Continental engine, so it's not the same style there. If your serial number plate, like this one, is illegible, you can still see the serial numbers, but you just can't see the model number that was on here. I know that this is a 300 just off of that serial number, but also you can check or take a look at the engine. It's still the same parent bore. When you rebuild the engine, you can go with a big bore, and it's the same between the C169 and the C175. Just from the factory, this is a smaller engine size. Judging by this thing, I think this is the 1955. Just the fact that it's, almost 70 years old now. The engine's probably been rebuilt. When you rebuild the engine, why wouldn't you go bigger? So my odds are this is a C175 displacement, but still has a C169 casting number on it. I just got some tires put back on this. I had these ones on my WD45. This one had bad tire. One tire was good, the other tire was bad, and both rims needed some fixing. These wheels came off my WD45. I got new outers and then welded in these the spin out rails for it. So these have new tubes and new rims with this old tire on it. And then I put new tires on the WD45, so then this one gets the leftovers, the hand-me-downs. Same thing with these tires, actually. These tires are used off of a different one, but the tires that were on this were absolutely terrible. So these are used tubes, and they hold air for a couple of days, but they need new tubes in there. On this thing, I bypassed the whole wiring system. The starting system on the other side has the new starter solenoid and new battery cables going to it, but I don't have the voltage regulator or the generator or the headlights or anything like that hooked up. There is just a wire that comes off the key switch up here, or goes from the battery up to the key switch, from the key switch to the coil. So this coil is the only thing that has power. There's no charging system on this. This was originally a 6-volt from the factory. It's rigged up for to get switched to an alternator at some point, if I keep it. With the 12-volt system, you can get internally resisted coils or use a ballast resistor. This is an externally resisted coil, which means it needs a ballast resistor. If you leave it like this, 12 volts coming straight off the battery, you can either burn your points up or it'll overheat your coil. An M that we're working on right now, I did the same thing just so we could temporarily get it going, just a hot wire with alligator clips to the coil. And after running for a while, then that coil gets too hot and it won't restart once you shut it off. We added the ballast resistor, takes care of that problem. This, I was just trying to get it down to my house fast, and this was the easiest way to get it started. So now I'll go ahead and add in a ballast resistor. It's still temporary because I still got to go through and rewire it, but at least it'll not be overheating the coil and overloading the points. So this is just a cheap ballast resistor. You can get them at your farm store. I think I paid $7.99 for this one, $6.99. They're not that expensive. It's ceramic casing. There's a metal bracket. The ceramic gets really hot. There's just a resistor inside of this that knocks it down from 12 volts to 6 volts. So the cool thing about ballast resistors like this one, when it's cold, like right now, and you send power through it, it'll send 12 volts. When you input 12 volts, it'll put out 12 volts. That gets you a hotter spark to help with starting when the engine is cold. And as the engine warms up, this also warms up as current flows through it. The resistor kind of acts like a little heater, more or less like a heater. So as this heats up, then it increases the resistance. So when this is cold, it'll be 12 volts in, 12 volts out. When this heats up, after it's been running and after it's had current passing through it, it'll be 12 volts in, but 6 volts out, and then it doesn't burn up your points. So these are cool because they do help aid in starting while it's cold, just like this. So all I have to do is cut this wire and tie in some little spade terminals. So I'm going to use a zip tie to hold up this resistor, just because it's temporary. On the permanent one, I like to hide them so you can't see them. So I put alternators on stuff, just that's my thing. The generator is right up here. I'll put the alternator right up here. You can usually tuck that ballast resistor somewhere on that alternator bracket. So when you're wiring harness, instead of it being right here and that voltage regulator right here, you can run it all like along the top of the valve cover and then dive off to hit the generator, alternator after you replace it, and then continue on with one wire down to your coil. And they don't have stuff hanging out here like this. This is the temperature probe for the water temp gauge, and this is the oil pressure. This is the feed line to the oil pressure gauge. So I'll just go ahead and put these spade terminals in. And then these just pop on. These aren't polarity sensitive. It's just a resistor, like it doesn't care which end is which. And then I'm going to zip tie it to keep it out of the way. These, since these ballast resistors are ceramic, they are somewhat fragile. So don't let them, don't shock them. I've broken one by, when I was tightening it, it was just hanging up weird on the little bracket, so it cracked it because it just, there's not a whole lot of strength to it. They're hard, but they're brittle because they're hard. And that's all we need. It looks goofy, but it's going to work for now. So I think I got to throw a battery in here. I know I'm out of gas. My guess, when did I have this running? This last winter? Maybe 9-10 months ago, something like that. My guess is I don't need to sand the points because I did put a new set of points in here, but we'll burn that bridge when we get to it. It's going to be a minute. If I can get this thing running, that H runs, but it's in the way. I just put that 70 here because I just moved this rake here this morning. That 70 is going to have to move, the H is going to have to move, then I can get this out. So I kind of just want to see if it'll run for now, and then it's going to take a minute to get all this stuff moved out of the way. Another interesting thing on these 300s is torque amplifier. So that's high range, direct drive, and that's low range or the torque amplifier engaged. This, I think it's a 30% reduction in speed, I want to say. But I'm pretty sure the torque amplifier is out on this one. There's a couple different ways these things can go out. Right now, when you pull it back, it still moves, so it's not out in a bad way, but it could have been that somebody went in there and welded spider gears or something on, or the planetaries or something on it. If I keep this around, then I'll dig into it. It's kind of hard to do the torque amplifier. You got to split it here off the engine, and then you have to split it off the transmission too. It's just a little bit more in depth involved with it. They're kind of expensive if you get a rebuilt one. They're like $700 to $1,000. You can get all the pieces for them though. So if I do that, I'll probably go that route, just rebuild it myself. The 300s and 350s also fall under the free gas cap range still. This one is one of those replacement gas caps. It has 2 vent holes in the top of it. It doesn't really matter though, because I was still able to get a new one. I don't really think they keep track of it, and this thing's old. And actually, it could have been that they just stuck a screw in here, but the difference is the single vent holes are the ones that aren't the updated version, or the no vent holes. And then this one has 2, but the screw is plugged in one of them. So it could have been somebody adding that screw in after the fact. Regardless, I was able to get a free gas cap. I won't go crazy on the gas. I'm not going to be moving this thing around a whole lot. Just want to fill it up enough that I know it's going to run so I can sell it. Then I guess if I get it running and tidy up a couple of things while it's posted, then I'll run some more gas through it. I'm absolutely going to let this sit and evaporate off. My negative there, it's got some corrosion on it. So the other day I was cranking this thing to see if everything was still going to work okay so I could even get to this point, and that thing was throwing sparks and smoke out like crazy. This is the starter solenoid that I have set up for it. We got power coming off the battery here. Power goes off to the starter there. And then all you need is just one, well, yeah, so that's constant hot. That's what goes up to my key switch up there. And this one is the start position. So this wire comes off the key switch. When you turn it to start, it engages the solenoid, sends power from the battery here through this wire here to the starter. The permanent version of this, if I go through and redo everything, I want to tuck this thing like up under the dash here somewhere so it's not just out in the elements. I mean, you can tell what this has been 10 months and it's already faded pretty good, these cables. So I think that water and snow and stuff comes right here and lands right on top of that starter solenoid. When I first got this thing picked up, that was bad, probably for that reason. It hangs out right there in the elements. It's also got the hay burner exhaust on it right here. It's in pretty rough shape actually. On the utilities, they went down like this. What I'd like to do is go up. This is the diesel hood, like I said earlier, so I have to route it like around to come out this hole so I don't put a hole on the top of this. The other option would be to sell this hood and get the correct gas version of it if I decide to keep this thing around. This hood set is probably worth quite a bit of money just for the fact that it's the diesel version of it. So I don't want to pop a hole in the hood just for that reason. I'd like to keep this thing nice. I got some gas turned on. It wouldn't surprise me if this carburetor starts leaking, that the float's probably stuck. We're going to go with it before it floods out. Okay, we got half throttle, out of gear, got some choke, clear prop. Whoa. Well, that thing's awfully loose. Yeah, I'm going to need to tighten that up real quick. That where that negative terminal attaches to the transmission case. Oh, it's a 5/8. Anyways, where this negative cable attaches to the transmission case has some corrosion on it. Really, I should probably take like some sandpaper and scuff up that surface, clean it up. But I don't have any with me. And I'm impatient. Want to get this thing started now. Okay, that's nice and tight. Stick our cable back on. Key on and clear prop. Oh yeah. Oh, that's smoky. Holy cow. Oh, we're missing. Why are we missing so bad? Oh, there's choke on. Oh, we're just cold. Oh, actually our oil pressure gauge moved. It was stuck at like 20. Now it says we're at like 70. That's not bad. I mean, this thing hasn't ran more than half an hour maybe the whole time I've had it. Oh, clutch might need some adjustment. Oh, does that work? I can't tell right now because I don't have enough room. Holy cow, that clutch is grabby. Well, sweet. Doesn't run too bad, really. One of the things that is an issue on this is this right steering, or this right wheel likes to when you're driving along. So I might need to get into that steering box and tighten some stuff up. These things, they're not designed the greatest. Oh, that's flat. I'll have to fill that up too. They weren't designed the greatest from the factory. And as a utility tractor, it was kind of envisioned that these things would be a loader tractor. And that's what a lot of people did with them, is put loaders on them. This wasn't a very strong steering box. So with the extra weight of a loader on there, and especially if you had like that big scoop or something in the bucket, the gears and stuff would strip, and the teeth, and because there's worm gears, or there's a worm gear coming off the shaft that drives them. I haven't really looked into it. I just know that there's a worm gear in here and the gears that mesh into it, and those gears aren't designed the greatest, so they'll strip out, they'll break teeth off. There's two halves to this, and you can shim this thing and adjust the play in it by two screws that get tightened or loosened up to engage the gears or disengage the gears. And then also the halves of this case, one stays solidly fixed to the frame, but that right side, you can adjust it, and it's loose. I think a couple of those bolts are stripped out on it. So as you're driving along, this wheel stays straight, your steering wheel stays straight, but that right wheel will kind of flutter like that. I'll have to drive it around a little bit more to see what's going on, but I'll make sure to video that, show you what I am running into with this. As far as for repair, they only made this for did this for the 300s and maybe the 350s, but it's kind of the same across the board. Even without a loader, it seems like they were okay, but with a loader, it just destroyed them. There's no replacement parts for these, no aftermarket parts for them. Pretty much the only option you have is machine it yourself to build up those teeth on the gears, or somebody makes a conversion kit that's like $1,500 or $2,000 for this. And that's probably more than the tractor's worth. I mean, you could probably, like right now, it'd be like, what, $1,000? You put $1,500 or $2,000 into this to get that steering gear rebuilt, and then you might have like a $2,000 tractor at the most. And right there, you got more money into it than it's worth. So I'll get all this stuff moved so we can drive this out in the field. And I kind of want to see if this TA works. I mean, I know it, in either position, it moves. I just don't know if it reduces speed or not. So if it doesn't reduce speed, then some of the linkage here either isn't adjusted, or somebody got in there and welded those planetaries, or it could be something else, because I'm not real familiar with TAs, because this is the only tractor that we have around here that has a TA on it. But I'll get this stuff moved and we'll take it out for a spin. That actually was not bad. That took like 5 minutes. So that 70 runs great. It's ready to go. It's posted up for sale. I don't know, my dad wants it, so I might send it his way come springtime if nobody wants it this winter. This H sold to a buddy of ours. It runs great, but that gas tank still has some rust in there. So I was fighting some issues, so I didn't know if it was actually going to start now, because it'll slowly fill up that bowl, but then when you run it, then it just drains the bowl out and then it dies. I've got a little standoff screen that goes on top of the sediment bowl coming. I've pressure washed that tank out. I'll probably have to do it again, maybe hit it with some muriatic acid, but for right now it ran and I'm happy about that. So we have an open alley to get the 300 out, and it's all the way at the back of the fence row. I tried to make these projects that try to make them make sense. Like, obviously that's not going to go anywhere. That MD was towards the bottom of my list, but I might actually tinker with that next. The 278 has a bunch of issues. That green swather runs, it cuts, but I broke the head again. It needs welded up, and I'd like to just put a different head on there. So this was at the back of the list here, but I got some time to throw the tires on this. They're stuck out really far, so they look kind of goofy. So I was able to throw these on. Like, this isn't a terrible tractor. You put a little cushion so you sit up maybe a couple inches higher. And I don't know, this might not be too bad. we'll see. I think it's one of those things. I'll post it to try and sell it. And then if it sells, cool. If it doesn't, then I guess I'll just keep working on it, making it better, holding on to it. Clear prop. That governor is stinky. I wonder if there's some oil or stuff that kind of got sludged up inside of it. Let's see here. Yeah, that clutch needs tightened a little bit more. Oh yeah, can you see that thing? Let's see if our PTO works. This thing has a live PTO and live hydraulics. Oh yeah. That was our 3-point. Oh, look at that. Not a 3-point, sorry, it's a fast hitch. And that's kind of the cool thing is my wife's 240 has a fast hitch, so we have a sickle mower that would work with this. And I've got the drawbars and stuff already, the adapters. And I could always use a 3-point. Am I just dumping fluid out on the ground? No. It has leak, but this thing's sat without wheels for, I don't know, 6 years probably. So it sat real low, and I think everything kind of leaked past that seal there. Gosh, it's smoky. Bet you those rings are stuck. So I got this thing started in, what, 2019? It was either 2019 or 2020. I was screwing around one day, back when it didn't have wheels then either, and fired it up for, I don't know, 30 seconds or something like that. But other than that, it'd probably been 20 years since this thing ran. So it needs worked hard, get those rings freed up, probably throw in a little ATF in the gas to try and get rid of some of that deposit. We'll fill up that tire, and then maybe we'll drive it around a little bit more. It's kind of cool. It's got 2 sets of remotes. Like, because this thing is set up for a loader. Like, 1 set of quick connects there, and then you got these here. So, like, this was totally designed for a loader. Just that steering gear was not designed for a loader. So I'm topping off that tire. I filled it up yesterday, and it was down. I filled it up to 15, and it's down to 4.5. So that one for sure needs replaced. This tube actually looks like it's holding, but tubes are like $20, and it doesn't take much to throw them in there. I don't know how fast I want to go with that wheel. And I also don't know if I'm going to be doing more damage to it without having that adjusted. There's some procedure that the owner's manual has in it, but I don't have the owner's manual, and I don't know if I'm keeping this tractor, so I don't know. We'll see. We'll drive it around, see how bad it is. And if I'll kind of just keep an eye looking inside, or looking at that, and maybe I'll get an idea of a way to adjust it. It looked like this case oh, our tire's off, or our tire's full. This case was moving a little bit. This is one of the bolts that's stripped out. So I'd have to drill that out, put a bigger one in. And this, it looks like, is what's wiggling. These tie rod ends, I know for sure, are bad. On the other side, this is loosened up. I think I need to tighten that nut down. Probably all these joints need replaced. I did double check to make sure. We have plenty of antifreeze in the engine and oil in the radiator. Oh, great. Yeah, I don't think the TA works. So this is 4th gear. Can't really do this one-handed. There's TA. Yeah, it's not doing anything. It feels like the linkage isn't adjusted. Oh, there we go. No. Gosh, it's freaking bumpy through here. All these squirrels like to dig holes in my field. Huh. We died. Why'd we die? I should have had enough gas in here. Can we start it up again? Is that coil bed? That's not too bad. How about now? Give it a little choke. Oh, weird. Oh, so that carburetor needs adjusted. Oh. It likes the choke on. Totally wrong gear, too. Oh, we're in gear. Come on. Well, we're going to call it right there, right in the middle of the field. Thanks for watching another episode of Tractor Roy. The International 300 does run, does move around. Still got a couple issues we got to iron out. That's going to get saved for another day because I'm kind of itching to do a little bit on this thing. Well, where are you? On this thing. See if I can get it started on the gas side at least. So, yeah, hit that thumbs up button if you enjoyed it. Even if you didn't, you know, it's just still hit that thing anyways. Throw a comment down below. Tell me what I'm doing wrong. Subscribe button, follow along. And as always, thanks for watching Tractor Roy. Hope I'll catch you on the next one.